are young. They're below the age of 30. So this approach is something which we need definitely, so that people feel, feel a connect with whatever we are saying. Coming to all the different initiatives, we spoke about, and I'll just give you a few examples of what we do in any of these. And TCS Fit for Life is a huge initiative for us. It is, in fact, not only just a well-being initiative, it is also a branding initiative for the organization, where TCS sponsors about, I think, 13 or 14 marathons across the world. We collaborate with all these marathons to run the backend, the technology backend for them. And as a felt experience, our people, can log whatever they do in terms of whether they run or they walk or they do yoga, anything that they do, they can log into the TCS Fit for Life portal. And there is an element of giving back in this as well, because for whatever miles that they log in, TCS then contributes that many points to a charity of the associate's choice. So that becomes an additional aspect of purpose, which gets linked to physical fitness as well. And you can see on the slide the different things, because these are the things that, we can speak about numbers, but these are the things that people say are their experiences. And to us, these tell a much deeper story than just counting the numbers, which of course for TCS are huge. And of course, I think that was one of the things that helped us to win the award that we did this year, because the jury, I think the jury found that there was a lot of work that we had done, and it merited this win. Yoga is something which was launched in 2019, around the time of the pandemic, and it seemed like the right thing at the right time. And it really spoke to our people at that very stressful time, and was something which was waiting to take off, and it just really, really took off during that time. The yoga team, we have a yoga council. I think I have never heard of any other organization who actually has a full-fledged yoga council within the organization. And these are all TCSers who are extremely passionate about yoga and do various things, and are building building the team from within. So there are different kinds of certifications which people can undergo. There are different kinds of challenges that people can take part in, and the yoga team conducts research in this area to actually see what has been the impact of the yoga practices. So from curing of thyroid issues, or in diabetes, or PCOD, or blood pressure, the results have been very telling. And this is something which the yoga team presents very proudly in different forums as well. And it's something which we are also very, very proud of. TCS Cares, again, is something that we are very proud of, and most organizations, and I won't say most, but many organizations do have an EAP service. But in 2018, we felt, and this was before the pandemic, we felt that the world is coming to a stage where emotional well-being is something that organizations will have to look at in much, much deeper detail, and provide associates with solutions, with help, with support in various ways to deal with their emotional and mental health issues. And the initiative has been very, very appreciated. The counseling services are, the usage is amongst the top in the industry in India. We have different kinds of things, like we have a peer guide program where we train our people to become emotional first aiders. We have different kinds of webinars, and we have a huge library of content now that people can look at their convenience. We have sensitization programs for everyone from leadership to managers to associates, so that there is a sense of psychological safety which begins to build within the organization. So this program, again, is, aside from just a EAP service, there's so much more that we do in this area. One of the metrics that we are very proud of in this is the life saved metric, which comes from, the number of people who may have been at high risk and who have been helped through the program, whether it was by talking to a counselor, or because of a manager or HR referral, or a peer guide support. So this is something which we are very, very proud of. Notes of Care is again an initiative which we run internally, where we send a note every week to our leadership. And this helps people to remain in touch with their humanity and keeps that aspect, the empathetic aspect of our people, much, much higher. Maitri, as I said, this was the first initiative, and it continues to be a place where people converge, people have fun, people build relationships, because that is something which is so important to have. And just yesterday, I met somebody who is part of the Toastmasters, and at TCS we have a huge Toastmaster community, which was put in place to help our young engineers gain much more confidence when they're talking in public. And so, whether it's Toastmasters or whether it's dancing or quizzing or cycling, there's so many initiatives and there are lots of clubs. And wherever you go in TCS, you will find people who belong to some club or the other. And that helps them develop bonds within TCS and, helps them feel like they belong a lot more than they would have probably done earlier. Our welfare and wellness function is one of the industries leading in terms of the kind of offerings that they have, starting with our health checkups to our insurance, health insurance. This is something, if you were to go on Glassdoor, or if you were to go on Quora, you would see comments from people talking about how these are some of the functions which actually have urged or helped people to actually stay at TCS, or drawn people to TCS because of the kind of packages and the kind of offerings that we have in this. So this is again an industry leading function, and we get we get to hear from a lot of people from industry as well, who want to learn how we've done this and how we help our people with so many different offerings in this area as well. So whether it is health checkups or whether it is health for the family, this is something which really helps our people. Our EHS function and our safety first function, these are the two functions which work on safety, because EHS usually works on audits otherwise, but when it comes to well-being, it is safety first, which is at the front end. And it helps people to become safe in different ways, whether it is road safety or safety from crime or financial safety, and that is something that Safety First runs. You can see these two pictures at the bottom. These are two pop-ups which pop up on our screens on a regular basis to remind us about ergonomics, whether it is our posture in sitting, or whether it is blinking our eyes or turning away from the screen. These are reminders and these are homegrown reminders which have been created and pop up on our screens and help people to remember that ergonomics and their health otherwise, especially staring at screens, is something that people need to be very careful of, given the kind of industry that we are in. And coming to purpose, which is a huge part of any well-being initiative, we are a big purpose for life initiative. It's called HOPE, and that is called hours of purpose per employee. And last year we launched a campaign which our CEO wanted us to log in 1 billion hours of purpose, and everybody got together and did that for that campaign. But having said that, it's not just for a campaign, because whether it is different kinds of communities that our people support, and along with Maitri, people go out into the community and work with different areas and contribute to the communities that we live in. And this is something which is very big for the Tata Group anyways, and so it falls very much in line with anything to do with well-being for us. So almost at the end of what we are saying. So this is just a quick snapshot of all the different functions which fall into well-being and help TCS be fitter, safer, happier. Just a few numbers, to give you a sense of the magnitude of the kind of impact that TCS Wellbeing has, whether it is saving so many lives from the time that TCS Cares was launched in 2018, almost over 1,400 lives, or whether it is millions of hours of volunteering, or the kind of distance that Fit for Life runs from the Earth to Mars to back, is the kind of numbers that we actually think about, or Maitri and the kind of engagement that it has, and yoga being still so young, the kind of number of minutes that people contribute. So it is, we are just a very large organization, and so our numbers obviously do look really big. But ultimately, what matters is what do our people feel, and do they find that what we do in well-being really makes an impact on their lives? Does it change their lives? Does it change the perception of TCS? And does it help our organization be a better brand, a better place to work? And yes, it does, because in our Pulse survey, we have a 95.6% satisfaction score for TCS well-being. And that is something, which we are very, very proud of, and just gives us a very clear indication of how our people feel. And I think it is probably one of the things which, reflects in what our CEO says, where he talks about the commitment to well-being, which goes beyond just programs and policies, because it's not just about running a yoga session or doing a Zumba class. It is about how well-being percolates into our culture and how it impacts people on a day-to-day basis. And in return, what do people then do, at the workplace, which gives back to the community and to TCS as well. So, Kriti says, we very simply, he says, we know that when one feels their best, one does their best. And we find that is very true when you talk to people on the floors, and, and that is what the impact of TCS well-being has been. That is those are our values: leading change, respect for the individual, integrity, excellence, and learning and sharing. That is the TCS way. And it stems from the legacy that we have within the Tata Group, where Jane Tata said that in a free enterprise, the community is not just a stakeholder in the business, but is in fact the very purpose for its existence. So for us, following that example is something that is embedded in practically everything that we do, including in TCS well-being. Just a quick note before we end, Wolf, on a little bit about the Global Healthy Workplace Award, because so I think well-being has sort of come of age quite recently in the sense of the different kinds of things. So if you go and look at different awards, the Brandon Halls, and in training or learning or other marketing awards or any of those kind of HR awards, you'll find that there's so many awards for different functions, but for well-being, I don't think there are that many. And amongst the ones that are there, I think this one, the Global Healthy Workplace Award, is one which, because of the sheer way it is run and the kind of detailing of the application, and then after that, the kind of scrutiny by the jury, it all comes together to really give us a very good sense of where we stand. I mean, I remember for the last 2 years standing before the jury, and I think defending the application is probably one of the most difficult things that I have done. And I think therefore we covet the award much more, because it gives us a real understanding of where we stand. And it has helped us to grow. It has helped us to look at our various practices and see what is it that we need to do more, where we could do better, and everything around that. So it's definitely something that we appreciate. And therefore, Wolf, when you said that, would I come on to talk about this, I was happy to do that, because I think anybody who goes through this process will benefit. And I would say to anyone who is looking to build their well-being practices and benchmark themselves, do go through this experience, whether you win or you don't. We didn't win last time. I have to tell you, I was very, 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 what is it that we didn't do? And next year we really worked at it and we won. And so it's a journey which I think benefits not just teams who do this work, but in the long run will benefit any of us and our organizations and our people. So with that, thank you so much for this time, and over back to you, Wolf.
Yes. So a big thank you to you, Sangeeta, for the excellent presentation, and also regarding the awards process and what you got out of it. That was really useful. I think, yeah, our judges do a great job, not just on sites when they ask the questions, but they go through these applications with a lot of care and detail, and assess the various applications with great work. So I really appreciate that for our judges at this point. Let's take some questions at this stage. Before I say something about the process, it's a great opportunity to talk to Sangeeta and about TCS program, as it was an overview. So you can put it in the chat, but feel free to unmute yourself too, and your camera. It's great. It would be great to see you. Any questions? Go ahead if anybody has a question, or put it in the chat.
Yeah, yes, I have one.
Yes, go ahead.
Hi, Wolf. This is Gustavo from Brazil.
Oh, Gustavo. Hello.
Hey, hello. Hi, Sangeeta. It was really nice to see the presentation. I saw you last year in Brasilia as well, which was really nice. So it's impressive, your numbers, because you have like such a big population. And one of my questions is, when you have so many people and so many opportunities to act, is it hard for you to decide which route should you go? And how do you do it? Because I see you have a broad program, and sometimes it's not easy to make bold decisions when you have so many people and so many opportunities to act. How do you deal with this? Thank you.
Thank you, Gustavo. And that's an interesting question. And so, as you see, Gustavo, we have so many different aspects of well-being. And the way well-being functions for us is that each of these functions have their own independent teams, they have their own budgets, and they also create their own agendas, their plans for the year. And then we all talk, all the functions talk to each other and see what is going on and support each other in that particular area. For example, we have something called a family day, and when we do family day, all the functions come together and present, and everybody set up stalls, and everybody, the families come, they all have fun. Then we have specific days, right? So then Maitri might run a summer camp for children, for example. And at that time, they will throw it open to all the well-being functions to say, hey, we are running a summer camp, and would you like to come and do something for the children? And depending upon what comes on offer, then the Maitri team will decide, which one seems the best and will be most attractive for the kids at that time, and we'll run that. So whether it is something that, maybe yoga team will run a camp for the kids, or whether TCS Cares will run something around emotional well-being in a fun way, or any of that, that could be it. Then if we have the marathon, when we have the marathon going on, and that's one of the biggest events, right? I mean, you've seen how marathons run, and there are millions of people at marathons. And those again become opportunities for the other functions to collaborate with Fit for Life to do something around that time. So it's a very collaborative sort of an approach. And because all the functions have their plans in place at the beginning of the year and the budgets are passed, so we don't usually have to worry about the push and pull of, if I give a budget to this particular function, then what will happen to the other one? So in a certain sense, I think it has happened organically, because these functions used to be separate earlier and then converged into one function. So in a certain sense, that little separation still remains, while the bigger umbrella now acts as something which helps everyone to come together.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.
Great. Thanks for that question, Gustavo. Other questions? I see one here from Tommy, which is a really pertinent one. To you too, Sangeeta, when should you begin preparing the application, do you think? Or when did you do it?
I think, preparing the application, my God, that it's such an exhaustive application that it really takes time. And I think Paulomi, who's on the call with me here, will probably be able to answer, but I think I'll take a shot at it. I think it takes almost 2 months, Tommy, to get, because you're talking to so many people inside the organization, and there's so many aspects of the application, and getting inputs, putting them together in a cohesive story. And that story, to tell you the truth, is something which we want to present for the application, but it also becomes a story which helps us. So that sometimes and as I was saying to Gustavo, that because some of these these functions do run things on their own, sometimes one function may not know some great detail about another function, and when the whole comes together, which it does come every quarter anyways for us, but when that whole comes together is when you can say, hey, you know what, that is a very interesting thing that you were doing, and next time we are doing say ABC thing, we have to make sure that this gets included in whatever else we are doing, right? So it becomes very interesting, and then putting that application together, putting the numbers together, putting it in a form that will be fairly easy for the jury to also go through, because I can't imagine what the jury has to go through to just look at so many applications and make sense of it. So yeah, I would say about 2 months.
Yeah, I think that's a great question, and we get that often in terms of the how much time does it take, or in terms of putting all the application together, the workload. And it's very hard to say. And as you said, Sangeeta, it depends a little bit on what your communication pathways already exist between departments, and how you get information. And some organizations are just well prepared, or better prepared than others in that sense, and can get that information quicker. But it's to put it together cohesively, I know it's not that easy, but I think most companies do a really, really good job. So that's always good to see. Do we have other questions for Sangeeta? Sangeeta, I'll wait. But I have a question. In terms of KPIs, right? Key performance indicators. What are I know you mentioned some data there and some outcomes. What are the ones that the CEO, for example, or your senior manager wants to see? What's the first thing they ask about health and well-being related they want to see?
Right. So usually it's about the big numbers. Firstly, how many hours were logged in, say, on the portal, Fit for Life portal? How many hours of hope were there? Because at the board level, these become clear indicators for sure. How many lives were saved, right? And conversely, how many lives are lost for whatever reason, whether it is due to any health parameters, or due to emotional health, whatever it may be, and what can we do for this? Like, for instance, for an organization, for an IT organization, lives lost is not something that happens at the workplace, like, say, a manufacturing organization, or say a steel plant, right? The people losing their life at work would be a very serious safety risk in that sense. But we don't have those kind of risks, so we actually take on targets to just say that how can we ensure that we bring down, say, lives lost due to heart failure, for example, or due to emotional health, or how can we bring down the cost of insurance for say, blood pressure, or anything like that, right? So those become the KPIs, and they're for different, for all sorts of reasons, right? I mean, one is to ensure that our people are well and healthy, and the second is to ensure that so that they are healthy, there's better productivity, so that they are healthy, our costs on any of these things go down. So there are multiple factors which are involved in that.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. All right. Any questions, comments?
May I ask?
Yes, Bernardo, go ahead.
Thank you. Sangeeta, just a question. related with budget. How much of a challenge, how much do you deal with respect of budget to develop all these great programs?
I'm sorry, you'll have to repeat that, Bernardo. I couldn't hear you clearly.
Sorry about that. My question is related with budget. How much of a challenge did you went through to obtain the budget to develop this program?
Money.
Is it just me? I can't hear.
The budget, Sangeeta, the budget, in terms of asking for a budget or securing it. That's I think that's the question, right, Bernardo?
Sure. Yeah,
Right.
that's right.
Okay. Okay. All right. So, so as I was saying, that at the beginning of the year, we have our plans and we have budgets for all these things. And while it's not a very luxurious budget, no, it is not, but it's definitely sufficient for anything that we usually think is critical and must run and a little more. So, there is enough to run the programs that we want to run. And part of it, and then depending upon, what seems more important, sometimes a budget may be allocated to a particular thing within that team itself to run something. For example, if we believe that, we allocate some budgets for travel, for instance, to do training programs, because when you're trying to build a culture, there's a lot of training the trainer that happens for any of these functions. And whether it is a peer guide program, whether it's a mentor program, whether it's a yoga certification program, people might need to travel. So depending upon which training we think is really important at that point of time, we might allocate that. But well, luckily, we haven't found it to be a huge challenge. So if we are able to sell our programs internally well enough, then we do get the budgets for them.
Thank you, Sangeeta. Thank you both.
Yeah. Thanks, Bernardo. If I may latch on to that, how about the current situation? Obviously, we're going through, I think, a difficult environment for many reasons, geopolitically and economically. Is that impacting the actual health and well-being program at all, or is it affecting it for you this year or last year or so? How is that?
I think it's too early to say, Wolf. We'll know. I think if you ask me this question next year, I might be able to answer it, but it's a little too early to say. And
Okay.
And I think, in anyways, I would think that there are things which, whenever a business is going through or the world is going through the kind of problems that is going through, budgets for everything might come down, but one has to get more creative in the kind of things that we do. And it's interesting how, even though budgets don't happen, somehow things like well-being and, internally, organically, there's so many people who are really committed to helping, do so many of these things that we are able to get that agenda through for most part in whatever we do.
That's great. That's really good. Perfectly. How about if you were applying again, would you do anything differently?
Well, now we become veterans at this, right? So I think, it's become a little easier, and that process has certainly become easier. Would we do something differently? Maybe, because depending upon who the jury is and things like that, and we wouldn't want them to get bored with, because a lot of things that we do they might have seen it before. We might try to tell, stories that we haven't told, because there are so many more. There are so many.
Yeah. No, that's good. Thanks, Tommy, for that question. No, that's great. Any others from the group? You want to unmute yourself or have other questions?
Just one more.
Go ahead, Tommy.
Just one more, Wolf, if that's okay.
Yes, of course.
Did winning it matter to you? Did it either internally or externally? Did it make any difference to win?
Yes, of course it did. One is that, the process is fairly exhaustive. So when you put in so much of hard work, you certainly want to see fruits from that. And having said that, we just do believe that our program is worthwhile. It is worthy. And so therefore, for the teams that run these programs, it is important to get that validation internally, because any big program like this, when you win, the messaging across different teams into leadership, getting their attention on something like this becomes easier. Talking, putting these details into RFPs when we're talking, we're applying for any sort of business and things like that is something that obviously, it goes into the list of different awards that, TCS might have won. So of course, winning definitely is something everybody would want. But as I said, I think winning was very happy to be, a winner. But the process itself was very interesting.
Great. Thank you.
That's good, and that's congrats to your persistency too, right? So to applying again, and we, as I said earlier, we do see that from a number of companies, which is always great. And then we usually see the progress over the year or years within that. So it's very encouraging. Let me at this point share my screen again and go through just a couple of things on the criteria. And then you're free to ask any kind of questions right away or afterwards. So here we see our global awards judges, and this year we're going to have a new team, and we usually rotate periodically, and we always have really great individuals with lots of experience, and they come from different backgrounds, which we think is a strength. And really, as you know, the whole concept, the issue, all the programs are very complex, right? Interdisciplinary, from different departments and so on. So that's what the WHO model embodies, and so we're always very happy to have different disciplines and backgrounds represented, and and as you can see from 5 different continents. In terms of the weighting or the scoring, so the judges actually score, right? They give numbers, figures to the various sections, and you can see here in terms of the percentage of our 6 sessions, the 4th and 5th are weighted heavier because it's just more info on that. So it's just a larger body of programs and policies that you can submit into that. So that's the reason for that. And then I should say that we have an additional 15% or 20 now are submitted at the summit itself for the finalists, I should say. So the 2 finalists per category are invited to the global summit. And I should say at this point, it's November 20 and 21 in Mumbai in India. So we'll be in Sangeeta's neighborhood. And to the actual, as you heard from her, that that she was it was hard to answer those questions and be on stage, so to say, to the judges, and so that's what's going to happen with the finalists. But I always think they're just prepared very well. I mean, I would say 99% are prepared very well to answer those questions and do a good job. So, but that's interesting. So the finalists come, and we don't know the winner yet. It gets determined on site, and depending on the final scoring of their presentation in the Q&A. But I know I'm going through this fairly quickly, but you have a chance to, of course, respond or ask, reach out to us, I should say, not respond, and ask questions. Just quickly, to really boil it down to 5 points. Important is that you have programs and describe them in all these 4 areas, right, on the WHO model. That's really important. And sometimes, like we have manufacturing companies, and they're really strong on occupational health and safety, long-term processes, management systems, standards, and all that. But sometimes they may be a little light on the psychosocial work environment. That's, at least we saw at the beginning, that's changed quite a bit over the last 5 years, I would say. But that's important. Cover all of those areas. Really make sure that you make a point of it, that your program is part of your business, of the strategy and your business system. So it's not just quote unquote a benefit or something like. So that's really important. Then, as I mentioned earlier, really demonstrate that you have a continuous improvement cycle, that you follow it, that you can show those outcomes. Well, that's already the 4th point, that you basically document the results and the outcomes. We have a long list, but that's just a list which are potential indicators. Doesn't have to be all of them, because some companies reach towards or have their goal towards specific indicators. You know, whether you heard from Sangeeta, you know, lives saved. It could be others. It could be engagement, right? That's always often a indicator which gets fairly high in terms of an annual survey. And there's many others, right? Some are really high in sick leave, productivity, not always easy to measure, but I'm just listing a few. There's many different types, and participation rates are also quite important at the beginning, at least. So make sure you document those. And then just a fifth one here from what we hear from our judges every time, just for the convenience and ease of going through these applications. You definitely don't want to turn off the judges, right, from the get-go. When you repeat a lot of information, right, and just make sure you read those questions with care and detail, and what is really asked here. What do you want to put in there? So that's really important, not to repeat too much of the information. That's kind of basic, but it happens every year too. So that's why I wanted to mention that. Yeah, and we as you know, the deadline is on the 2nd of June. So that's about a 2-month from now. And we are very available at all times in terms of responding to questions that you may have, to clarify certain sections. And we have applicants every year who do that, and it usually shows in the scores. So not that we want to field dozens of calls every day, but we are very, very open and very available. So please do that. And yeah, and then hopefully we'll get a good bunch of applications again. So I'll stop here. Let's see. Yeah, we have about 5 minutes left. Open questions, especially for those who are interested in applying or know companies who are interested on the process. You can ask all kinds of questions, because I went through it fairly quickly, and there's more to it. Any questions or comments, thoughts?
I have a question, because you have a judge in Africa, but you know, if you're multinational and you do not really have a lot of business in Africa, so how is this judged then if you don't bring local examples from Africa, because you only have, you know, joint ventures there? So
yeah, thanks for the question. No problem. Well, so the judges score or evaluate all applications. Doesn't matter where they're from. And they judge them based on the criteria of the model and the framework. And so you don't have to have programs in Africa or in Asia, if you know, necessarily, or anywhere, because sometimes we get applications from a company which is only one country, right? It's not always a multinational. So they're all very well versed and experienced to judge applications. I mean, so, and again, if you're a multinational like yourself, just provide the examples that you have, or you know, from various regions. It's important as a multinational to show that it's not just one country, but you have sites in other regions as well. But it doesn't have to be everywhere. Like if you don't have a site in Africa, that's it. I mean, that doesn't make sense. So, but yeah, I hope I answered your question on that one.
no, that's fine. I mean, we only have joint venture, but joint venture is a different thing. So yeah.
Okay. Yeah, thanks. I appreciate it. That's always a good one. Tommy, you raise your hand.
Well, just to say, we really appreciate applications from small businesses. Sometimes our number of applicants can vary from year to year, but and within a small business, you know, we don't necessarily expect, the judges don't necessarily expect you to have everything like a large organization like Tata would have. But you may be strong on one component or one or two components. So please apply. You know, they will be considered, and you've got a good chance of winning.
Yeah, thank you. That's good. Gustavo, you have a question, comment?
Yes, I do. Well, apparently the deadline finishes in less than 2 months. So as they just mentioned before, you have to gather a lot of information. And I want to understand, even if you don't have all the information, and if you don't have enough structure or data to answer all the, 35 questions, would you highly recommend a company to join and to try as maybe a test or are starting process to also like get aligned with the criteria of the award, not expecting to win the award this year, but as a framework to reorganize their like health and well-being programs and structure to maybe in 1 or 2 years they are ready to, you know, maybe be a winner. Do you think that's also a good idea?
Yeah, I like that question. Thank you, Gustavo. The straight answer would be yes. You heard from Sangeeta that there's quite a bit of value to going through this exercise and answering the questions. It really makes you reflect, even if you don't get recognized or win the award. It makes you reflect on your own programs and how to move on. Oh, we're really lacking here, or we're really strong here. So yeah, my answer would be yes. Maybe with added a comment here that if a company really has, you know, major holes in of the 4 areas, they only cover 1, yeah, then maybe not be such a good idea. But if it's a question or 2, I think that's fine. And even we often get answers in terms of addressing, without having a program or a policy in place necessarily, addressing the issue, you know, to say that, you know, this is on our radar or it's in our plans or something like that. So it could be phrased that way as well, just to show that they have thought about it, and it's not just about, you know, kind of a narrow approach or minded. But so the answer, I would say yes, especially because as they learn from it and benefit from it. Yeah.
Thank
Great
you.
question. Thank you. Yeah, well, close to the end. Any last minute questions that anybody has? Okay, great. Well, first of all, big thank you to Sangeeta and TCS. I know there's a whole team behind it, so thank you to all of you for making this happen today, but also, of course, for your whole program. So keep doing it. It's good work, and it's really refreshing and great to hear from it. And thanks to all of you for joining, and hopefully we'll receive some of the applications. And I said earlier, feel free to reach out anytime with questions, and we'll get back to you as soon as possible. Tommy or Barry, anything else? Did I miss anything? Okay. Okay, good. Well,
no, covered everything.
Great. Thanks, Barry. And everybody else, will see you soon, hopefully, and hopefully see you in Mumbai in November. All right, guys.
Thank you very much for coming on.
Bye.
Bye.
Have a good day. Good rest of your day.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.